Welcome today to our Delivering Effective Feedback to Boost Performance virtual boardroom that is being facilitated by HR Recruit and Kåre, Mary and Joseph from Scene Change. My name's Jo Thompson and I'm a consultant for HR Recruit. I'm joined today by the team at Scene Change who will introduce themselves shortly. This session is designed to demonstrate how we can train and educate leaders and managers to improve their performance skills and deliver it with a focus on growth and improving performance. And now I'm going to hand you over to Scene Change, who will introduce themselves and start the boardroom.
Thank you very much, Jo. We're delighted to be here today, and thank you for inviting us to do this live and interactive demonstration on how to deliver effective feedback in order to improve performance. My name is Kåre Sivertsen. Just taking a little moment there because that is not a typically British name. I'm originally from Norway. But for the last 15 years, I've been a managing director at Scene Change, and we've been training people across industries in effective communication skills and stressing the importance of behavioral flexibility, all underpinned by performance techniques and also neuroscience. So our team of experts, we all have a trilogy of skills. We're all experiential coach facilitators. We all have corporate backgrounds. And most importantly, we're all professionally trained actors. So this gives us a unique way of demonstrating and showcasing the impact what different behaviors can have on each other. And today, you will have the opportunity to see for yourselves what can happen when a manager, a fictional character that we have created for you, goes into a mid-year review session with little preparation and low awareness of how he comes across to other people. But the good thing is we're all here and we can all support this individual to improve their skill sets, and we can all share hints and tips on how to make this midterm review session work even better for everyone involved. So during this session, we use an element of interactive skills practice to really give learners the opportunity to look at different behaviors and change different behaviors in a safe environment. And just to alleviate any fears that may have crept in at this moment in time, I did mention acting and skills practice. Rest assured, none of you will have to do any acting whatsoever today. Rest assured. Now take a breather. That will be handled by us from Scene Change. But what we do want you to do is to be an active participant within this workshop. We'll be asking you questions. We'll ask you for your feedback. We'll go into breakout rooms and we'll have a chance to shape and create this feedback session to what it should look like. So let's take a quick look at what we will be doing today. We've got about 45 to 50 minutes together. So the first thing we will do is to give you a brief overview of how forum theatre works and actual skills practice, how that works. Then we go into a live demonstration of a challenging feedback session performed by us. We are professional actors. After that, we'll go into virtual breakout rooms where you have the opportunity to help shape the performance, give some feedback to behaviors that work well and what can be done differently. Then we will come back into the main meeting and we will rerun this session, and we will then stop and start, and you can see for yourself what will happen when we implement the comments and suggestions from yourselves. We will also introduce you to some effective feedback models before we round up with a Q&A session. So, Jo, if you can now make me the host of the meeting, that'd be marvelous. And then I will hand you over to Mary, who will talk you through a little bit more in detail how this forum theatre session will work. Over to you, Mary.
Thank you, Kåre. Wonderful. So, yes, in a moment, we're going to show you a short work-based scenario played out by Kåre and by Joseph. Hello, Joseph. After watching this scene, you as the audience are, through engaging with it and through influencing our performance, you're going to have the power to change the outcomes. So we'll be encouraging you to suggest different behaviours, perhaps a different language, to help to explore how we can influence our own working relationships and our own outcomes by simple pivots and small things that we can do differently. And of course, in the real world, we often only get the chance to do this once. So today, we're going to demonstrate how we can deal with challenging or uncomfortable conversations within that safe environment that Kåre had mentioned earlier. So we'll play out the scene without stopping. And when we come to the end of it, we're going to split into 3 groups in breakout rooms, along with one of us who will be facilitating the room. And you're going to explore what you saw as effective behavior for one of the characters, and also what you think could be more effective for that character. So let me just give you some context to what that scene is about. So we're going to visit a fictional company called Foresight, and we're going to meet 2 characters, the character of Chris, the manager, and Max, the team member. So if Kåre, could you change yourself to Chris, so there's no confusion, that would be wonderful. And if we can just move that slide on. So we've got Chris, the manager, and Max, the member of his team. Chris has recently been promoted. They used to work together as peers, and together they have been working on a project, pulling together a client engagement summit. And we're going to join them at Max's mid-year review. So I'm going to come to Max first. So if we can spotlight Max, that's wonderful. Just I want to touch in with you, Max, and find out, how are you feeling about this mid-year review that you're about to have with Chris?
I'm looking forward to it. Chris has just been promoted, so it's a little bit strange, you know, that change in dynamic between us for the first time. But having said that, I think things have been going really well at the moment. I really like to, I've seen that Chris can actually make the leap to management. I'd also like to make that transition as well. So I'm looking forward to actually like pitching him on that, because I've had the opportunity to work with him on this client engagement summit, and it's gone really well. I've had some really great successes, and I think this would be a really great platform really to move me forward. So yeah, I think I'm looking forward to it this time.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Max. And if I can come to Chris. Thank you, Chris. So you're about to go into this mid-year review with Max. We'll just unspotlight Max there so we can have a little private conversation. How are you feeling about this meeting, Chris?
Well, to be honest, I'm a little bit hesitant. Well, it'll be the first time I'm doing a mid-year review of this kind of a formal setting. And yeah, we used to work together, so it was a little bit awkward. And I've got a few, well, how can I put it, delicate messages that I need to share with him in this meeting, which, you know, I'm hoping that will land well, but I'm not entirely sure how it's going to play out. We're just going to have to see how it goes, basically.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Chris. Okay, so for everybody else, as we play the scene, really like you to focus on the character of Chris, the manager. So focus on the language he uses, his behaviors, mannerisms, voice, eye contact, lack of eye contact, and just the general impact that he makes, and perhaps some of the preparation that he might have done. And the reason that we're focusing on one character is, and particularly the manager, so this is very much about giving feedback, is we can't change other people as much as we often would like to, but we can self-reflect and change our own behaviours, just, you know, small increments, in order to perhaps affect a better outcome. So we'd really like you to put yourself in Chris's shoes, think about how would you make this conversation more effective from his perspective. So do have a pen and paper at hand, do take some notes. And also, if you would like to add anything into the chat box, that is fine as well. Let's just watch the scene, and afterwards I will explain what we're going to do next. So when you're ready, Chris and Max, please go for it.
Chris, yes,
How are you, Max? You well?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. It's good to see you.
Very good to see you as well. And it's yeah, if you had a good weekend.
It's been great. It's been great. So I've got to be honest, a little strange you and I doing this way round. You know, I know making management is as they say, it's a good look on you.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it is what it is. And we're just gonna have to do our best here. There's a few things I wanted to run by you today.
Listen, before you do that, I just wanted to dive in, if I may. I got Laura Burns as the speaker for the conference. She just confirmed over the weekend, so I should have let you know straight away. So that's kind of been a real plus, you know, for moving forward on this. I just wanted to let you know.
Great. Well, it's good to hear that you got some good news there. And yeah, I just wanted to run by you a few things that I wanted to share with you. And it's, well, how can I put it? There's a tendency for you to just cherry pick work here when it comes to all the nice stuff. I mean, you're doing a lot of network.
I wouldn't say I cherry pick. Come on, Chris. Yeah, I think it's fair to say you've seen how I operate. You know, I've got Laura Burns on board. I've actually managed to pick up another couple of clients, you know, who are going through the foyer, saw what we were doing on the client engagement summit displays, and actually had a conversation. And they'll be logging in with you just to let you know their interest and they want to move forward with us as an organization. So, you know, I think it's fair to say that, you know, I am, you know, getting successes for us, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's good that there's successes, but you know, what really happens is that there's other people in the team who then have to pick up on the work that you don't do, because you know we're supporting, we're doing the admin, we're doing the processing, we're doing the creation of all these.
I hear all of that. No, Chris, I know. Look, we all have a lot to juggle. I think you know that, I know that. But I think the most important thing for us as a team is that we all play to our strengths. And I think there are members of the team who really do well at process and admin. And really also just get us over the line. I think that's also what you want in a good team. And I think I manage that well.
Yeah, I mean, you do well. You know, don't get me wrong, Max. But you know, the frustrating thing is that when you know, every week we're going to have to hand in these reports for the project team, and every week that we have to chase you for information, and it becomes kind of frustrating when we kind of have to.
I understand
in order to, because people are starting to ask questions, Max.
Listen, I think it's important that, as I've said, there's a lot to juggle. There's a lot to move forward. Okay, look, I am aware that these things need to be taken care of, and it's not, you know, I don't ignore it. But, you know, life gets in the way from time to time. But I think the important thing is that we get there at the end of the day. You know.
Yeah, no, we all get there in the end. But I just needed to share these things with you, Max, because I think we all need to see some change. I
hear some change, but I think you'll see how I've been operating has made a difference. I brought on the new mentors, the new starters. It's always good to give them a sense of the culture, especially having worked, you know, on Zoom for so long. It's good to get them in and actually get them working. And I'd like to think, you know, I think one of the things that's important for me is I'd like to get up there with you on the management level. And so I'd like to use the summit really as a platform for that, really as a showcase. And I think that's something I think that would be really useful going forward.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about promotion, but I think we need to talk about that at another stage, Max, because I think we just need to focus on what we shared so far, and just, you know, we need to iron these things out first before we move on to anything else. But you know, thanks for sharing.
No, you're welcome. Listen, we'll definitely get through it. We'll definitely get through it. You know.
Yeah. And is there anything else you want to add before we bring the meeting to a close?
No. I just so you know that, you know, really about my promotion aspirations more than anything else. And you know, I know you're in there for me.
Yeah. No, we're all rooting for each other. We're all going to support each other, and yeah, we'll make it work. We just need to iron out these few things that shouldn't take too much, but you know, there we are. And I think we should be all plain sailing from there. Okay.
Thanks. Listen, I hear what you're saying, but yeah, looking forward to getting the summit over the over the line as well.
Okay, great. Thank you, Max. And we'll see you again soon. Yeah.
Okay, I'm just going to jump in there. Thank you very much. Just wondering, Max, if we could just take you off the spotlight for a moment. I just want to have a quick conversation with Chris. Chris, how do you feel that went for you?
Well, to be honest, I don't think it went that well. I think we could have gone better. I think the messages that I'd prepared I don't think they landed that well. And I think the conversation went a little bit down a different path than what I'd hoped. So yeah, it's probably a room for improvement there, to be honest with you.
Okay, all right. Well, let's just give you a little rest there. Thank you for that. Just wondering, in your real self, Kåre, could you maybe just share the slides? Max, I'm going to come to you later, but we're just going to go straight into the slides at the moment. Great, wonderful. So we're about to go into breakout rooms with one of us. And the question that we want to discuss in there, we'll only be in there for about 7 minutes, is what could Chris, the manager, do or say differently in that meeting to be more effective? And your facilitator, one of us, will take some notes. And the way that we want you to do this when you're in the room is would like you to raise your digital hand or put some comments into the chat box once we get in there. And then we'll feed that back into the main room. So, Kåre, if you could put us into breakout rooms, that would be wonderful. And we'll see you back here in about 7 minutes.
I'm working my magic. There we go. And yeah, I'll open the rooms and you'll see one of our facilitators on the other side. Okay, good luck, everyone. And I'll see you back in the main room afterwards.
Welcome back, everybody. It's not much time, I know. This is a demonstration, and what we're going to do is, I know your facilitators have had that conversation with you very briefly, and I'm going to come to our facilitators just with for some notes. So I'm going to come to Joseph first of all. What went on in your room in terms of how we can help Chris to be more effective?
Oh, I think my team were great. Very much a sense of just nice basic things. A couple of things is like eye contact. Okay. An opportunity, just to actually look down the lens. Okay. Also, one of the things that would have made a difference is confidence in actually taking control right at the top of the meeting. Actually set out how it was going to work. Okay. How it was going to work going forward. Who would say what, then what would happen, to avoid the being spoken over in this. And I think the last tip as well is that came over from my team. There's very much that sense of acknowledging the promotion, acknowledging that change of state between them. And that, I think, that's just some of the things that my team looked at about making this more effective.
Okay, lovely. Thank you very much. And Kåre, anything to add from your group?
Yeah, I mean, it was along the same lines, but it's definitely structure was a point that was mentioned quite strongly, and making sure that you set the purpose of the conversation, managing expectations, what is expected from each other. And also there was a note on maybe try to have a practice conversation with yourselves or with somebody else if there's some tricky messages to share with other people. It can help to just verbalize and being comfortable with the language and making sure you choose the right language, avoiding the cherry picking type language, which was something that just came out at the spur of the moment, and to choose something different there. So yeah, so that's the main thing. And then owning the message by starting the sentence with I have observed, rather than the general public have told us that we need to change or do something different. So those were the key points from our group. Mary, back to you. Okay. Anything from your group?
Lovely. Just to add to that, we had a lot of that as well, very much about preparation, thinking about your agenda, starting with the end in mind. Where do we want to get to? And owning that conversation from the start. There was quite a lot around, a few bits about around body language as well. There was a bit of, head holding at some point that was, really leaking out this kind of like, I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm not comfortable with this situation. So being very aware that, your body speaks volumes as well. We also talked about there wasn't much active listening going on both sides. And as much as we might want to, help the character of Max as well, we're really focusing on Chris because we're putting ourselves in his shoes. So obviously there needs more time for this conversation and more time for it to grow and to ask some really insightful questions and also actively listen to those. There was also some things around, thinking about when we are giving feedback is actually thinking about it being balanced and also those specific examples. It felt a little bit wishy-washy about, what you've seen and, the examples and actually what could you do differently. So that's quite a lot. And I'm going to ask, in a moment, I'm going to ask Chris to think about all the feedback that we've had, because what we're going to do now is do this slightly differently this time. We are going to rerun the scene again. And this time you're going to have the opportunity to become directors of the scene. We've heard the feedback about what you wanted Chris to do differently, and we will run the scene based on 2 or 3 points that Chris has picked up from that feedback. I'm going to just briefly check in with Chris. Chris, what are you going to do differently from the start or even before this meeting, just based on what you've heard?
Be better.
Can you be more specific?
I can be more specific. I will definitely take more charge and own the message more. I will try to set out a better structure for the conversation. And I will also talk about the purpose and that part of the meeting. I'll try to have a bit more confidence in myself, my own abilities, even though I feel a little bit nervous underneath the surface. I'll try not to make sure that leaks across. So, improving the eye contact and general communication with Max. I think that's where I'm aiming for. Okay. And we'll see what happens.
Lovely. And I'm just conscious of the time here, so let's get cracking. So as directors of the scene, the rest of us, what we would like you to do is, if you see some behaviours or language or micro behaviours from the character of Chris, if you feel it's not helping him or Max, I would like you to raise your digital hand or throw it into the chat box. Just write stop. We will stop the scene, and I'd like you to give some direct feedback to Chris and tell him what you need him to do differently. Chris will possibly clarify that very briefly, because we haven't got a lot of time. Take that on board, and then we will redirect this scene as we go, basically to try and get to a more effective outcome. So we're here to help Chris. I'm just going to hand straight back over to Chris and Max. So if you two could spotlight yourselves again. And I'm going to also, hang on, wait a minute. No, we don't want spotlight. Sorry, can we not spotlight? Because I just realized we need to be able to see everybody. So I'm just going to pull my screen over so I can see everybody's faces and hands and so on. So we'll just start that scene again. And if you see anything that you don't like, please raise your digital hand or just shout stop.
Okay. Hello there, Max. How are you doing?
Hello. Yeah, good. It's good to see you. Congratulations on the promotion. It's strange doing it this way around, isn't it?
Yes, it's all a little bit different to what it used to be when we were just colleagues, but this is the way it is. And how was your weekend? Was it good?
It was good. Yes, absolutely. Oh, before I forget, I got Laura Burns.
You what?
Laura Burns, the new for as the speaker.
Oh right, yes. Yeah. Great.
She's absolutely at the edge of her field. She is brilliant. And I think she's going to be a great addition to the event.
Great, fantastic. That's really good news. We'll come more to that in a moment. I just wanted to set out the kind of parameters of this conversation, just to make sure midterm review session, so mid-year review session.
Yeah.
And, we'll go
I'm just
through-
sorry, I'm just going to jump in there. I'm starting us off with a raised hand. How do we feel about how that went to begin with? Anyone get any comments about, got Laura Burns or whoever she is, and Chris going, great, we'll come to that. How do we feel so far?
And there's a comment in the chat box from Paul. Paul, can you unmute and elaborate a bit more? Chris was quite dismissive.
Yeah, I just thought maybe that deserved slightly more time. I know you said you would come to it later on, but Max was clearly very pleased with what he'd done there. And I just felt that maybe you could have spent a few more seconds just talking about that with him.
Okay. I was trying to take charge of the conversation, and that was a slightly different structure. I was going to get in there earlier before he started, but
okay,
it's hard to kind of, yeah. Anyway, but thanks for that, Paul. That's a useful comment. So stay a little bit longer with that and just acknowledge it a bit more of things that was working well. Okay.
And we've also got some supportive comments here. As manager, could have been more enthusiastic. Thanks, Hamish, and Chris didn't acknowledge. Congratulations. So yeah, I mean, if we want to start off on a positive note, then I think we need to give that a little bit of time as well.
Okay. Should we just rewind a little bit?
Briefly go back, yeah.
And you've just mentioned that you've secured the speaker.
Yes, Laura Burns, she is brilliant. Okay, she's going to be such a powerful addition to the event. Also, just her name recognition alone really helped the marketing. Promoting the entire event.
Fantastic. That's really good. I mean, I'm really pleased that you've managed to secure that speaker, because I know you've been working on that for quite some time, Max. Yeah. And the fact that you've managed to secure it and book that in, that's brilliant. We do need a good keynote, and I take your word for it that she's a good one to have on board.
No, she's great. She's absolutely great.
Fabulous. I just wanted to just briefly set out the parameters of the conversation here, Max. It's a mid-year review meeting, and what will happen is that we will go through what's working really well at the moment, and also look at some of the areas where we can perhaps make some improvements. And love to hear from yourselves first of all of how you have seen things, and then I will also add some observations that I've made as well. Does that seem like a fair structure for this conversation?
Well, that sounds great to me. Like you said, I think things I've done really well. I've managed the team well. They can be a bit stuffy on occasion, some of the things that I've done, but as I said, getting the results I think that we need. I've been able to mentor the new starter, we've given a sense of the culture of the organisation, and really I think what you and I have done together on the summit really helped us both. What I'd like to do, I think, is use this as a platform for promotion, really, so I can get up to the same sort of level as you.
Great. Just Max, just 2 seconds. Can you just mute yourself and then unmute yourself? It seems to be a little issue with the sound here on the call today. But what I did pick up there, Max, was that you've started to mentor some of the younger people in the organization, which is brilliant.
Yes, I have.
That's fantastic. And you mentioned bringing in the new speaker and so on and so forth. And there was a little bit I missed a bit earlier. There was a bit of a poor sound. Can you just reiterate that for me, please, Max?
I think all I wanted you to know was that mentoring's gone well. This as an event has gone. I think we've worked really well together. I think I've managed my team well. I think it's been important that I've had everybody play to their strengths. And I think that's an important part of being a good manager, and making sure that we hit the targets that have been asked. And I know I've hit the targets that have been asked of me. Yeah,
which is brilliant. I just wanted to come to a couple of points that I wanted to raise in this meeting. I made some notes before I came on, and
okay.
It's about the allocation of work, and what I've seen is that there's a tendency that you gravitate towards things that you enjoy doing the most, which is the networking, talking to people, securing the speaker. And obviously, that's your good skill set, which is great. That's what we have. But what happens is that there's other things that's being left and not being done.
Sorry, I'm just going to jump in there. Sorry to stop you there, Chris. We'd like you to make a little bit more eye contact, please. And just also going back to that last scene, it was all I thought that went quite effectively, and certainly nobody stopped us, but also with the congratulations and you know, about what Max has done well. It could even be that could move into another separate meeting that came from Lee outside of that meeting. So that's another option, but we won't do that now because we're very short on time. But if we can have a little bit more eye contact, please.
A little bit more eye contact. I was trying to make notes and do eye contact at the same time. It's a little bit tricky, but I'll
if that's the case, maybe we need to say that though.
I'll say it, okay.
So you might want to say, do you know what, is it all right if I make some notes, or I'm going to make some notes, so you know I am listening and I'm trying to make eye contact, I'm just trying to take notes. So maybe you need to flag that up.
Yeah, okay. Just backtracking a little bit here. I'm just going to scribble some notes as you're talking, Max. So if I don't have eye contact with you throughout, it's because I'm actually making some notes and referring to my notes as we go through the conversation. Okay?
That's absolutely fine, mate. That's absolutely fine.
Excellent. And so I just wanted to get your perspective on what I mentioned, where you have a tendency to gravitate towards the areas of work where you feel, you know, quite confident, which is the networking, securing speakers, etc., which is great, and I'm you know, excellent that you're securing that piece of work. But what happens, Max, is that there are other parts of your work which isn't being looked after as well, and that is the process and the procedures and handing in kind of the factual you know, nuts and bolts of things into reports and the writing and the written material that we need to do every week, which
Yes, I think you'll understand. Look, we've all got a lot going on at any given point in time, and that's why I've always said to you, the team should play to its strengths. And I think I think it's good. I think you've acknowledged that I'm good at networking. I'm good at getting people on board. I'm good at mentoring, and there are other members of the team, I think, who are diligent, who do enjoy process. So I think it's important to be able to lean on them and really encourage them in actually moving us all forward as a group. Yeah,
I mean, I find it a bit, well, this whole thing a little bit strange, because it used to be quite diligent and bang on the money with everything, and then something's changed in the last 3 months. So I'm just a bit concerned about that. Is there anything else that you I mean, I don't want to keep chasing you all the time, because that's
no. Listen, I understand that you don't want to have to chase it, and you know, and life happens. You know, it's not that I'm not committed to the department. I think you can see when I'm playing to my strengths that I'm committed. But you know, life happens, and you know, but I think it's important that we focus on the team.
Sure.
All right, hang on. We're going to stop there. You look as though you're not quite sure what to do there, and I'm hoping that Philip is going to help us.
I think at this point I'd be asking if you've noticed a change in the last 3 months, then what's changed in the last 3 months for Max, and how you can get back to working more effectively as it was 3 months prior.
Yeah.
Lovely,
okay.
Thank you. And just we've got another comment as well, and I'm very conscious of the time, so this might have to be the last sort of change. You could ask them if there are any barriers. So very similar. What's changed? Is there any support that we need that we can help with? Great, thank you. So we could just do that bit. Yes, life happens can be explored further. Thank you, Paul.
Yeah. Thank you, Max. You mentioned there, you know, life happens, and I've noticed there was a change in the last 3 months. Can you just tell me a little bit more about that from your perspective? You know, I'm happy to listen.
I know you moving into management was a real focus for you, but you know, my dad hasn't been as well as we all may have hoped, and I've noticed that he has like a regular appointment that I've got to get him to now. I didn't have to before, and that tends to coincide late on a Wednesday, and I've got to, you know, and that may have distracted, but it has distracted me. I haven't really been able to come and talk to anybody in the team about it, but as you've seen, I've tried to push through nevertheless.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear about your dad, Max. It can't be easy, and I understand that.
He's getting older, and I think none of us were expecting it. But you need to understand it. It's not that I don't care about the team or the organisation, but it's come out of the blue. Okay.
Is there anything that I can do, or us as an organisation can do to help you and support you through this?
In many ways, just can we, let's move the reporting date would help more than anything else. That would give me a little bit more time.
Right. Okay.
And it wouldn't necessarily, butt up against the appointments I need to get him to. But I want to be able to just keep that between you and me, if that's possible. I don't want to, for the rest of the team, I think it's important that we keep moving forward. But in that support, I don't want to lose their respect.
Okay, no, absolutely. I respect your confidentiality here, Max, and I will definitely make sure that we try to make some reasonable adjustments here to make sure that we can include you in all the work that needs to happen and tailor it for your needs.
Okay, I'm going to jump in there. Thank you. I know we could go so much deeper into this and have a much wider conversation, but we've only got a few minutes left. Great, thank you so much, both of you. I'm going to check in with you in a moment. There's just a few more things in the chat box. Max might not want to explain about life, the life happening. So it's also very important about the language that we're using as well when it comes to these conversations. And it could be something along the lines of, do you want to talk about this? Or do you want to tell me? Or shall we have a separate conversation about that? So obviously we have to empathize. We have to understand that this might not be something I want to talk about right now. Also from Lee, thank you. This shouldn't be the first time that Chris is hearing about Max's dad's health, which impacts performance. We probably should stop the meeting or move that conversation to a different time. Absolutely. And then, there's a lot of organizations that we're working with at the moment, which is about continual feedback and check-in conversations rather than storing everything up to the mid-year review or the end of year review. So it's that, getting to know your team better and having more of these more shorter conversations, but really getting to know people. So thank you to both of you. I just want to check in very briefly, Chris, how is that going for you now that you've had this help?
That was much better. Thank you. And it's useful to get a perspective of how you come across to other people, just that simple thing of writing notes and then, not having enough eye contact and not being enthusiastic enough with things that are working well. So finding that right tone of voice and kind of the shape of the conversation to really support the other person. You might think that you are coming across in a certain way, but what is being perceived by others is something completely different. And that's quite useful.
Great, thank you. And I'm going to check in with Max. How was that conversation for you this time, Max?
I think it was nice to see a change in my colleague, I said my mate, but it was good to see that change in a colleague. And also it felt a lot more, I didn't feel like I had to push through and show that I was doing well and it was all going great. I had a real sense that he was listening. And that's not necessarily something I had the first time around.
Lovely. Thank you. So we're going to leave Max and Chris in that slightly better position. And just want to share very briefly some tools that we can use to help in terms of managing feedback. So basically, we all have feedback every single day, and it is something that we should be embracing, whether that's receiving it or giving feedback. And it's about people feeling confident about how to give feedback. And often what we talk about is, what went well, starting with the positives. We need 5 times more positive feedback in order for us to accept the developmental feedback. There's been a whole load of studies on that through various universities and psychologies around this. So we're very hardwired to move towards the positives and away from the negatives. So it's thinking about keeping it positive and a place where people can grow rather than, here's the positive, now I'm going to tell you what you've done all wrong. So thinking about, these are the things that you did well. and talking about those. And then there's the even better if. So we know what you've done well, and actually the next time what could be even better is whatever it is that you need to share with that person, rather than what went well and what didn't. And to build on what you've just done there, why don't we try this? Or to build on that, what do you think you could do to be even better or more effective? And then it's talking about the next steps. What I would like to see differently in your performance, or for the next meeting is this, that it's handed in on time, or that we find a way of you managing this better because I want you to be more effective, or because I want to support you to be the best that you possibly can. So it's being mindful about how we manage that feedback process. And also, here's a tool that can also help you. I mean, we're speeding through this, but it's called the SBIO model, and we can just build this as we go, Kåre. It's thinking about what we want to talk about. So describing the situation. So the situation is the meeting this morning, the behaviours that we have particularly noticed. I noticed that you interrupted the client. Okay, so that's very specific behaviours. We're not necessarily holding the person up for judgment, but we're just saying this is what I've noticed. And the impact of that was this perhaps broke the client's train of thought. Maybe we didn't get all the details that we needed in that meeting. And the outcome is that perhaps the next time we can really think about letting them finish what their train of thought is before we then ask some reflective questions or clarifying questions. So it's a very simple model to think about when we're giving feedback. It's also can be used in a coaching style in terms of what do you think the behaviours are? Tell me about the impact of those behaviours. What do you think the outcomes could be next time? Super simple and can be very powerful. I'm going to hand over to Kåre just to finish up with us in our summary.
Great, thank you, Mary. So it's really quickly here now, just your message may not be perceived the way you intended. So be aware that what you intended may not be the same way perceived by others. And so we encourage collaboration and perspective sharing. It's the same situation, but one person sees it from one perspective and the other one a different way. So let's explore those different perspectives in order to get a greater understanding. And if you do need to raise some issues that can be contentious, do so in a respectful manner with a view to help and support and gain a greater clarity and understanding of what is actually happening. And the value of practicing difficult conversations in advance can really help and be the big difference. And I think that's where we come in and we can help and support organizations with that kind of a training environment where it's okay to try out different things, try out different behaviors and language in a safe and secure environment. And here are some of the areas that we do work in that can be explored further, but it's all based on interactiveness, skills practice, and learning by doing. So on that note, I would say a big thank you to Joe Thompson at HR Recruit. Thank you for inviting us to share this way of working with you here today. And we also have some time for a few questions. So if you do have questions, you can raise your hands or you can pop them in the chat box. But let's quickly hand back to Joe Thompson just to round things up for us. But thank you very much for your time. And I'm handing back to you now, Joe.
Brilliant. Thanks very much. I'm sure that everyone will agree that that was an amazing session. Lots of great feedback, and I hope that you took some things away from it. I will send out an email this afternoon to everybody that's signed up for the event. And if you want a copy of the recording, then please put a comment against the LinkedIn post. That would be appreciated. Our next event is on the 6th of June and is mental health in the workplace. A link to sign up for that will be included in the email. There will also be some contact details for Scene Now if anybody wants to get in touch with them. Also, we will be sending out a feedback form, which I think goes hand in hand with the session today. So if you do have a few minutes to complete that, then your feedback on the event will be much appreciated. And finally, if anyone is recruiting, then we've also got accountancy recruit, FD recruit, and executive recruit within the group. But I'd just like to say a massive thank you to Scene Change for their time and effort in putting the event together, and also for everybody that attended. Thank you very much.